Gavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arakea Galadurathan, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to another video, this time on something completely different. Today we are to talk about stakes and cheating. This is because, as many of you know, in the upcoming version 2.0, which is probably a year away, honestly, hand on heart, we're going to edit the stakes, but there's been such an outcry that there was a desire to see how to put them in yourself, so I thought I will do that now. Mostly because I want to test out something new, and that is this microphone. I purchased a brand new standalone microphone, and I'm in two minds as to whether or not it's actually better than the old headset microphone I used to use. So this video, whilst not being massively overly important, is therefore a guinea pig. But it will also show you how to use stakes effectively, and there was also a call for a guide to show you how to cheat effectively in Medieval 2. So I also intend to do that. However, before we begin with any of that, I will just say yesterday's video on Khazad-dûm Total War, Khazad-dûm episode 15, a mountain battle and a poll, there was overwhelming support to set up a Patreon account. Or more likely, not support to set it up because people wanted to donate, but no one really cared if I set it up essentially. Although many of you obviously would do. But when I last checked, there was something like 227 replies and only 6 people had said no. So that is what I would consider overwhelming support. And additionally, every single comment that mentioned it said, why the hell not, go for it. So that put my mind at ease a little, so I have set it up. Now, there was also a comment that said they don't mind if there's a Patreon account as long as I don't talk about it forever. And I am complete agreement. So what I will do, though, of course, because otherwise you'll never know it exists and the whole thing would have been fruitless anyway, is I will talk about it in the Imladris overview that is coming out tomorrow. And then the 4 standard videos this week, I will mention it at the start of each one. And then it will just be in the description and I'll never mention it again. So that's the plan at the moment. So I did just want to get that out of the way. So at the beginning of the next 5 videos you'll watch, if you watch them all from me, there will be a brief mention about Patreon. It'll be in the description of every video thereafter, and that's about it. So thank you to all of you for feedback, support, and indeed ongoing support. It's much appreciated. Also, as evident, if you do watch this video, please do let me know what the microphone sounds like. So all of that out of the way, let's dive in. First of all, we're going to start with stakes. So you want to add stakes to your favorite unit, or indeed you want to remove them. Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is go to Notepad++. So here I've obviously opened up a web browser because you're going to have to download it if you don't have it already. And Notepad++ is just a better version of Notepad, which is a standard document reader that reads all of the files of Medieval 2. Every computer has Notepad on it, or Macs will have an equivalent, whatever a Mac is. But Notepad++ is needed because of the way that it encodes the files. Without it, you are likely to get a crash even if you just changed one number. So download Notepad++, download, install, you're okay. Then what you're going to need to do is find where you've stored Medieval 2. Because you're going to need to open the file. Now, I've assigned all of the .text files to open to Notepad++ immediately, which is why you can see the Notepad symbol, whereas you will most likely still be on Notepad, so you're going to have to right-click. But we'll worry about that in a moment. First of all, you need to find where you'll have set your installation, and for me, it is there. See, Steam, Steam Apps Common, Med2, Mods, 3rd Age DaC, Data. That is where you need to go. If you've got the disk, it will be C, Program Files 86, Sega, Medieval 2, Mods, 3rd Age, probably 3, then Data. And this is what you will get when you get there. A long list of text files and a group of folders. And you are looking for, these are in alphabetical order, and you're looking for the export_descript_unit. Now, it's not actually descript, it's descra, but I've always thought it must mean descript. Anyway, and you're looking for the one that is unit. It's right at the end there. It's one of the last files in the list. Export descript unit. And you want to open that up. And it will take you to Notepad++. And, well, no, as I say, so if you have just got normal Notepad, you're going to need to right-click on it and open with Notepad++. It might not be listed in that list, in which case you're going to have to choose another app, find where you've installed it, click it from there. Or it might already be listed here after you've installed it. Either way, if you do any kind of text editing, this is so useful over the standard Notepad. It's advisable in almost all the situations. So, under the export descript unit is these entries here. This is one entry. So an entry begins with the word type and it ends with the word recruit priority offset. And these, as described in my video where I covered the EDU, which is what we call this for short, I've gone through what each line does. But today we're interested in stakes only. So what you're going to need to do first of all is find the unit that you want. And now this can be quite tricky. For many units it's very self-explanatory. So Gondor Bodyguard is the Gondor Bodyguard. Gondor Levy Spearmen are Gondor Guardsmen. But for some of them this is not so self-explanatory. So let's say, for example, you want to add stakes to the... choose a unit that's going to be hard to find. Millions of units are running through my mind. I should have chosen one before I started up the video. That was foolish of me. Horondor. Let's add one to the Horondor mercenaries. So you want to find the Horondor mercenaries. Well, first, one of your options is to just scroll through the entire Gondor order till you find them, but then they might not be there. So what you're going to want to do is come back to DaC, your data folder. Now scroll up to the top and you will find a folder called text. Double click that. Scroll down to the export_units. Now open that. Now this details what the unit's in-game name is, plus its in-game description. So from here you can use your Control F, which is find. You know they're called Horondor. So search for Horondor and you'll get Horondor mercenaries. Then what you want to do is copy that section. You can double click and it will highlight the whole lot. Press Ctrl+C, which is your copy. Head back to Export to Script Unit. Again, press Ctrl+F, and then Ctrl+V, and then find. And then boom, there's your Horondor mercenaries. Funnily enough, they are actually called Horondor mercenaries, but if you can see from the scroller down here, Gondor's entries are all here. So these have been entered into the mercenary section, so you wouldn't have been able to find them in the Gondor section. So to add stakes to this unit, the line you're interested in is the attributes line. And this is where it lists everything that this unit can do. And to add stakes, you very simply add a comma on the end, press space, and type the word stakes. And that is it. Then you need to just save that file, and that's it. That unit can now place stakes. Sorry, I just banged the microphone. This is going to take some getting used to. That unit can now place stakes. And if we want to see which other units can place stakes, if we double click that, it will highlight every instance of the word stake. So you can either monotonously scroll up until you find a green entry. It would be much quicker if we just went up like this. There you go, stakes. They've got stakes. Who are they? Galathrim archers. They've got stakes. Galathrim march wardens. And that is how you add stakes. And similarly, if you wish to remove stakes, you do it exactly the same way. So you go to stakes, you backspace, get rid of it, and then backspace all the way so that there's nothing on the end. The end should always be clear. So if you want to add stakes, it's add a comma, add a space, type the word stakes, and then save it. And if you want to remove stakes, you just backspace and go to the comma and save it. And that's it. That is as easy as it is. So remember to use the export units to type in the name of the unit you want. So this file will have all the in-game names. And then come to the export to script unit where you find the dictionary line of the unit and add the word stakes. And it's as simple as that. That is as easy as it is. Right, so that's stakes out of the way. Then let's cover cheating. Well, to cover cheating, I've got this tab open, which I do actually have saved in my bookmarks under Total War Center, console commands. And this lists all of the working cheats in Medieval 2, which is very important to note because there are some cheats which you might think would work, but for some reason or another, they don't. The most common example of this is the equivalent of process CQ for the recruitment line. So I'll just go quickly through these. Process CQ is eventually auto-completes any building that is in the list, at the building at the left of the queue. So process CQ and then type the name of the city will auto-build whichever building is waiting to be built, presuming you've got the money for it. Now you'd think there'd be a process CQ for the recruitment line, for example, process RQ, recruitment queue. But there isn't. It doesn't work. But I'm pretty sure there is one in Rome 1, which is where many of these cheats come from. So it's tricky. But obviously this is the address, so you can either find it there or you can very easily just type in Medieval 2 cheats and then TWC onto Google and then it'll bring up this page. But one of the key things is how do you get to the cheats? Well, this is different for many, many people. For myself, the cheat key, I've got, I assume, a standard English or / standard European keyboard. And for me, the cheat key is the @ symbol / the inverted comma symbol. So the keyboard that has the @ or the inverted comma. However, for some, the key is the tilde key. And to get a better picture of what a tilde is, I can get you an image of a tilde. That is a tilde. And so you can find that on your keyboard. You'll get the... that's an interesting image of a tilde, a pregnant cartoon woman. But that's your tilde key. So for some it's the tilde key. I believe on American keyboards as well, that's next to the number 1. I'm uncertain. But for me, that's actually next to the @ symbol. But for me, it's the @ symbol. So, cheating in practice. So let's go into the game. So first of all, you need to bring up the console. As I say, for me, it's the @ key. And it looks like this. Medieval Shell, it's called. Now, what you have to unfortunately do here is get everything absolutely bang on, or it doesn't work. So, the standard cheats that I can show you without having to go through that list on Total War Center. Well, the first one is, of course, toggle Fog of War. And quite literally, that turns off the Fog of War. You can see the whole map, there's no restrictions. One of the big things to remember about the console command, or the medieval shell, is that you can replay the last command by pressing the up button. So up and down will cycle through the last commands. Of course, we've only ever done one command, so it only goes up. That was the last command I did on the guy before. So toggle Fog of War is the first one and arguably the most useful one. That one's used an awful lot. Now the next key ones I would suggest are town related. And here comes in the problem that many people experience, and that is, how do I get a town to work? Like, let's take Sturlutzerkand. Well, in order to add population to Sturlutzerkand, what you need to do is type in add_population. And then you need to type the name of the city. Now, if anything has a double named name, like Sturlutzerkand, you need to do a quotation mark, then type it in exactly as you see it. Sturlutzerkand. So capital letters where there should be capital letters. Now, the maximum population you can add is 4,000. So you can add 4,000. You can type more than that if you want, but it'll only add 4,000. And press enter, and if we go to Sturlutzerkand, it now has 6,633. If we then go back to our medieval shell and press up, and then press enter again, and then it doesn't update, you have to go out and come back in, it's now 10,633. This also works negatively, I should also point out. So you can go to it and do a minus sign beforehand, then press enter, and then if we come back to Sturlutzerkand, it's back down. Oh, you can remove more than 4,000, but you can't add more than 4,000. That's interesting. Anyway, so it's now taken the population limit down to the absolute minimum. And do bear in mind, as we've just discovered, you can remove more than 4,000, but you can't add more than 4,000. Another thing to note is that if you click anywhere outside of the medieval shell, it's no longer considered in focus. And anything you then type, like you can hear me typing probably, then has absolutely no effect. As you can see, I'm pressing W, A, S, and D, and instead it's moving the camera around. So to refocus it, the best way is to just double click your shell button and reset it, and then it auto snaps focus to it. So that's key. Right, the next thing, as we saw, was the process CQ. So in Sturlutzerkand, oh, hold on, I hear you say. One of the easiest ways if you're going to cheat quickly, if you want to do a lot of cheating in one go, and it's all related to a town, is to rename it. So Sturlutzerkand, get rid of that, let's just call it S. Click anywhere after you've done the renaming, and close that scroll. So now it's just called S, which makes cheating so much easier. So we want to build the military lodgings. We don't need to actually know the name of the building. All you need to do now is type in process CQ space and then S. And it needs to appear exactly as it appears. So because that's a capital S, it has to be a capital S. Press enter and boom, that building is now suddenly built. But as I say, you must have the money for it. So if we were to build that one as well, then we can no longer build that one, you see. So even if I try, nothing happens. You have to have the money in order to cheat. So then that brings you on to the next most useful cheat, and arguably the one many people probably do use, and that is add money. And the most you can add is 40,000. However, you can type as much as you like, but it will only add 40,000. And then add money, and boom, there you go. 40,000's been added, but it's then auto-built that and subtracted the cost. So add money is another very useful cheat. Now another useful cheat if you're trying to get a diplomat around quickly is character reset, which you've already seen, but I'll say it again. So I've moved this spy as far as he can go. He can't go anywhere anymore. So I want to reset him. So all you need to do there is character. Unfortunately, this is like the European way of saying a word rather than the English way. So whereas we would say blue mountains, in French, for example, they'd say mountains blue. And it's that same kind of thing. So it's rather than reset character, it's character reset. You just have to remember that. And then you just need to type in his name. And boom, he's reset. And there we are. I can move him again. Nice and easy.
As you will.
Now, rounding out the final of the, what I would consider quintessential cheats, is the AutoWin. Now, this you need to be in a battle to actually do. So I don't think I can show you. without actually bringing in 2 more cheats that I do consider very, very useful. So let's take this whole army here.
As you will.
Khan Arkish. This will allow me to explain a few things. What I'm going to do now is move him. So in order to move a character, let's move him up to Skarn. That's my favourite testing village. Oh, it's not called Skarn anymore. When did it get changed to Berserker? Oh, there it is. Sorry. Oh, it's not enjoying panning around there, is it? Somebody did say that it doesn't like panning around when you... Ah, yes, you're totally right. It only goes slowly because the console's trying to constantly update his movement pattern. Whereas if I click away from him and move around... Oh, that's so amazing. I didn't know that. All that time I thought it was the game being rubbish, but it's not. It's just updating. Anyway, so we want to move Arkish to Skarn. There are 2 things you've got to do. First of all, you've got to find where you're going to move him. So bring up your console and do show _ cursor stat. Press enter, and it will then give you a 6th number with a comma in between. You need to remember that number. So then to move Khan Arkish, you're going to need to know where you want to move him to and his name. So to move the character, you just do move _ character and then the name. And it's interesting that titles don't count. So Arkish's name is just Arkish. Additionally, any accents on the name do not count. They are the in-game name, not the file name. So even though you can see Arkish's name has an accent over the I, his actual name in the files is Arkish without an accent. So you move character Arkish, do space, then type in your number 477, 377 and move. And then there we are, Khan Arkish, and everything with him has moved to Skarn. So then, that's how you move a character. And then finally, the most useful cheat of all is AutoWin. Now, when you get to this screen, the battle deployment screen, you don't want to go onto the battle map because then you just have to fight it. Obviously, you don't want to withdraw it, but wait to click the automatically resolve. So at the minute, it's 50-50, just shy of 50-50 if we're going to win this or not. So we bring up the auto_win, and then we choose who we want to win. And in our case, it's the attacker. The alternative, of course, is defender. But we want attacker. You press enter, and to know that it's worked, nothing will actually happen. You'll just get that second arrow and a new line will begin, and then when you press automatically resolve, you'll get an outrageous victory. Heroic in this case. Although it must be noted that in order to get a victory over a settlement that isn't a village, you need siege equipment that's going to break down the walls. Otherwise, it'll just end in a draw. So that's something to note. But that is exactly how you move characters and do everything. So the key things to take away from this really are names. The names, the accents don't count. So for example, Oibamari has 2 little dots over the O now. They don't matter. Amukand. If I want to add population to Amukand, it's 1,371. I can add population, do my question mark because it's 2 words, type in Amukand with no accents, add 4,000 people. And that is actually a lie. The settlements aren't like the characters. Well, I'm glad we showed that up. So what we've just learned here is that on settlements, unfortunately, accents do count. Whereas on names, they don't. As you can see, Todan, when I reset my character Todan,
Yes, my
we can find that because it will list everything you've ever done. There we are, character reset Todan. It has no accents, but his name does. But I can press enter and he's reset. However, as we just saw, trying to add population to the city with an accent doesn't work. So you're going to have to, unfortunately, either rename it to a standard word without any accent, or just learn what the alt commands are on your keyboard. For example, I know that alt, is it 140 is an I with a circumflex, alt 150 is a U with a circumflex, alt 132 is an A with 2 dots. They all do something different. So it's just a case of just search on the window for just search on the computer for alternative keyboard commands, and you do them with the alt. Now, before I move on to the final part, which is creating units, I just want to say that there are 9 people in the game who do not have normal names, and they are the Nazgul. The Nazgul's file names are Nazgul A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. And unfortunately, to know which one is which, you're going to have to go back to the files. And we've got to go back to the files in a moment, so we can do that. But first of all, we're going to create a unit. Now, to create a unit, what you're going to need is the name of the unit in the files, not in the game. So again, this time we're going to create Horondor mercenaries, because we used them before, we'll use them again. No, they're not very good actually, because they've already got the right name. we'll use Gondor Guardsmen. We're going to create a unit of Gondor Guardsmen. And we're going to create them to Khan Arkish. Because in order to create units, you have to have a general. So Arkish is going to be our guinea pig. So we want to create Gondor Guardsmen to Arkish. So what we're going to need to do is, as I say, come out and find the unit. So if you leave the game, so here we are back into the export descript unit. Now the unit that we want to create this time are Gondor Guardsmen. So go to the export underscore units, which is, its path is up there. You can see it at the very top. Data text export units. You've been here before already at the start of the video. And then search for Gondor Guardsmen. Have I spelled Gondor Guardsmen right? Wrong, probably. Or is it Guardsman? Let's type Gondor G, because that's way easier. There's only one interesting... Oh, they're not just called Guardsmen, are they? Oh, they're called Territorial Guardsmen, of course. Sorry. Territorial Guardsmen. There they are. Gondor underscore Guardsmen is their dictionary name, but we need their type name, which will become apparent in a moment. So again, double click on their dictionary name, Control C, go back to the edu, Control F, Control V, find. Gondor Guardsmen. So as you can see, Gondor Guardsmen's type is Gondor Levy Spearman, including the spaces. And this is the line that dictates what units are created. So in order to add that unit, we need to remember Gondor Levy Spearman. So we go back into the game. I have it on borderless window, which is why it loads up so quickly. And then you come to this and you need to type create underscore unit. Then you need to do a space and then you need to say who it's going to. So it's going to Arkish. And then again, you need the question marks if there's more than one word, quotation marks. So it's Gondor, Levy, and was it Guardsman? Can't even remember, might get it wrong now. And then you can, there are 4 numbers you can add here then. And the first one is how many you're going to add. The second one is, I believe, their experience. So you could add 5 with 9 experience. And then the next one, I think, is the last 2 are then armor and melee weapons. And I can't remember which one is which, but it matters very little. And they're not called Gondor Levy Guardsmen. They're called Gondor Levy Spearmen. Oh dear, we were just there and I got it wrong. Now you need any capital letters where there should be capital letters and enter. Oh, am I in the right place? And enter. And there we go. He's just been bolstered. Evidently that next one is not experience, but it does explain it on the cheat page. I never bother with experience because I only ever create units to cheat. Like I create trebuchets to attack towns when I'm doing modding. Obviously, the Variags of Khan don't actually own Gondor Guardsmen in any of our files, so they appear as these Roman peasants. There's no UI. But that is how you add units. So you need to know who you're adding them to, the name of the unit from the type line, and then you can just type one number and it'll add 5 of those. I'm not sure the maximum that you can add actually, although we've only got space for 9 more, so let's try that. No, the maximum you can add is 5, no matter what you type there. So that is how you add units. But I'm pretty damn sure that that second number is experience. Ah, yes, you have to have a space in between the numbers. There we are. So it is experience. Should we do a little test? We find out what they all do. Let's move a load of those out so we've got the space. So then the third number then, if we do a 1, is armor. And then the fourth number then, if we do another one, is melee weapons. Yeah, so it's how many of them there are, what's their experience, what's their armor level, that can be 1 to 3, if they have 3 upgrades. And then what's their melee. The melee can only ever be 1. There's only 1 tier of melee weapon improvements, I'm afraid. So that's how you add units. And that is pretty much every useful cheat, in my opinion. There's also ancillary and trait moving ones that you can check out on the cheat page, but they're very niche. I don't tend to use them very much. These are the core ones. So the final thing then to just say is, how do you find out what the Nazgul are called? Because you're going to want to move them every now and then, because they're problem children, as we call them. Well, you want to come back to where you've got the text folder. So data text, and in here, find the word names.txt. And head into that. And then what you're going to want to do is Control F again. So let's get rid of that so I can do it from the beginning. Press Control plus F and type in Nazgul. Just Nazgul. And there you go. It'll take you down. And that's what they are. So the Witch King is Nazgul A. Dwar is Nazgul B. Giindur is C. Kumul D. Huamarath is E. Adunafel is F. Ren is G. Uvatha is H. Akorahil is I. And then that is it. So those are your Nazgul names. Those are what you're going to need to remember if you want to move the Nazgul. So to move the Witch King, it is move _ character space Nazgul A to wherever you want to go. So that is how to cheat. That is how to play stakes. This is the new microphone, comment on that, and that is Patreon setup. So if you've got any questions, pop them below. Any feedback, pop it all below. I'm eager to hear it. But until we speak again, dear friends, Navar na den Pedimad Melunin, and farewell.